Hello, you're listening to Count Richard von Coudenhove Kalergi. Today is Sunday, March the 22nd, Mother's Day, and I noticed today it's been announced that Angela Merkel has put herself into quarantine for meeting a corona-infected doctor. And I got a hand to Trump during the week when he talked about it being a Chinese virus. It reminded me if he went into a Chinese takeaway and ordered food, if he got Indian food, he wouldn't be too happy. So maybe there's an element of truth to what he had to say, but I'm rambling slightly. Last Tuesday was a St. Patrick's Day like no other, with pubs shut. So in less than 1 year, we had pubs open on Good Friday and probably closed this next Good Friday, which is in April. While out looking for a church to light a couple of candles, I spotted an open Bible with the Gospel from the previous Sunday, and it was from John chapter 9 verse 6, and it was the story of Jesus curing the blind man. And it said, quote, "With that Jesus spat on the ground, made mud with his saliva, and smeared the man's eyes with the mud." Now I remember when I was growing up, my mother telling me that she remembered seeing signs on buses saying no spitting, done in an effort to stop the spread of TB. And yet every footpath, it is not long before you come across the contents of someone else's saliva. How come no one is telling people to stop spitting? It is vulgar and spreads germs. Another report out of Italy released on the 17th of March, the mortality statistics, that the average age of those who died is 79 years old, and 80% of those had 2 or more chronic illnesses, and less than 1% had no chronic illness at all. 800 died yesterday, but that is out of a population of 60 million. RTE had a report from St. Patrick's Day criticising people attending Glendalough for not complying with social distancing, and today the car park is closed, and pictures have emerged of cars parked, and they have suggested and insisted that cars will be towed if they're illegally parked, so something to keep in mind. But yet all the parks in Dublin that I saw, the car parks were full, so a little bit of hypocrisy there. As of Saturday, 226 of those infected live in Dublin, with a population of well over 1 million people, and with 785 cases confirmed, with the government spending so far reaching 240 million. Now every shopping centre and supermarket has X on the ground, like some form of hopscotch, and stories of people having their safe space being invaded are being invaded. On Thursday evening, I stopped my car beside a green area around 7 p.m. after noticing a most beautiful sunset, only to have someone run over to me and start shouting, "Are you taking photographs of my children?" To which I replied, "Are you for real? I'm taking a photo of the fucking sunset." A sunset which even Declan Ganley, living in Galway, posted a video on in his Twitter page, complete with a singing blackbird in the background. You can sense a little bit of the tension in people, and I can only imagine the number of domestic violence cases as a result of pubs being shot and people being cooked up at home, a place of sanctuary for many people. And I believe that in the time frame of the virus panic, more people have committed suicide than those killed by the virus, a number of which is sadly will only increase with the levels of financial pressure on people, as the number of those directly affected by work reaches over 500,000, that out of a workforce of 2 million. I see now that not just Tullamore, but the Skellig Star Hotel in Carrick is getting a direct provision centre. Even times of financial crisis and public health crisis, the cash cow of the direct provision still keeps moving on, with 150 asylum seekers due to be arriving shortly, with some of the locals expressing concerns about whether they had been tested for infectious diseases, and with another saying that we are just as likely to infect them as the other way around. Well, I wonder, does this lovely lady realise that 55% of all the new female patients presenting themselves for AIDS are from sub-Saharan Africa, and 33% of all the men, and another 33% of men are from sub-Saharan Africa, and another 33% from Brazil. Sorry about the stumbling there. And lastly, new laws have come into effect, given emergency legislation that gives the state new powers to detain people restrict travel and keep people in their homes, shut down mass gatherings, and allows for the detention on foot of a medical recommendation if they refuse to self-isolate it. As with all powers handed to government, this is up for review only in November. I'm reminded of a quote from George Washington: "Those who give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." As it is still St. Patrick's Week, I would like to end on a prayer of St. Patrick and see if he can remove yet again some of the snakes that plague our homeland. I arise today through the strength of heaven, light of the sun, splendour of fire, speed of lightning, swiftness of the wind, depth of the sea, stability of the earth, firmness of the rock. I arise today through God's strength to pilot me, God's might to uphold me, God's wisdom to guide me, God's eye to look before me, God's ear to hear me, God's word to speak to me, God's hand to guide me, God's way to lie before me, God's shield to protect me, God's host to save me. Afar and anear, alone or in a multitude, Christ shield me today against wounding. There are a couple of thoughts which are my own. Thanks for listening. Good night, good luck, and God bless.